nature is a big one for me. I feel like what I do is about nature, you know, birth and being with mamas and babies that's what I'm trying to bring in to physiological birth. So I have to keep returning to nature to remember and bring that in, because we are on our devices, and you know, so that's a big one for me. And as also the working on a lot of bodies and the energy and how it moves and how sometimes it doesn't move. My weakness is usually I neglect myself. And that's something I notice, I feel like, with a lot of care providers or even doctors. In fact, Dr. Max is a pediatrician I work with, and he has nipple balm. I just remembered that to give to everybody. He's in Greece doing his self-care with his new baby. But it's just, it feels like I'm always like trying to remember that, because I do feel like the thing with trauma or with tension that we're working on with other bodies is like, if it's taking tension, which using your muscles and all that does, you know, how do I make sure that I'm not putting that into someone, and how, and that is usually dealing with my own trauma, dealing with my own tension, dealing with needing to move my own body. And that's usually what's neglected. And that brings me to my next my next guest. Because right now in my world of care, my sanctuary has been going to Rie's class. We are in a spiritual sangha together, so we've known each other for a very long time. But Rie is an incredible somatic therapist, movement, dance teacher. And I've been going to her class, and for me it's like, because she works with a component of dropping into the body, and it's like her class for 2 hours, I feel it coming out of it. I feel like I've prayed, I've been in nature, I've had a massage, I've done yoga, and I've also gotten in touch with my own feminine energy and my own beauty, and the number one, my own pleasure. So in fact, I put this on today and I thought of Rie because it's like fascia, right? It's like the web of fascia, and it's like the rebosos, the weaving of the rebosos that Miriam has been massaging people with the last 2 weeks. And so that being said, I asked Rie to come, and she's like, okay, we can see what this like birthing world is like with these
I'm so honored to be here.
And by the way, with today, I want everyone to meet, and then we are going to do a little appetizer of some movement and
So, just for clarification, I'm not a somatic therapist. I'm a somatic body worker. Yeah, because there are. Yes, it's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes. Because there are somatic therapists that are in a parallel partnership, but very different study. So I studied massage therapy actually just a couple of blocks down here at the Shiatsu Massage School before it closed, and I became a yoga teacher through Forest Yoga, and so through the two, I found a way to heal myself. I had severe scar tissue from a fall on my sacrum, and I was paralyzed for just like 3 days, but it was really, really intense. And I didn't even know what a sacrum was. I was in my early 20s. I was a party girl, you know, and suddenly I'm in ER in this trauma hospital, famous trauma hospital in Seattle. And I remember laying there thinking, I don't even know my own body. This is really terrifying. I don't know what I'm supposed to ask. I don't know what I'm supposed to, how to advocate for myself. And it was a pretty terrible experience in the hospital, actually. So I came out of it and I really decided that I had no interest in body mind at the time. I mean, I was very, very young and still trying to, figure out life. And that led me to, and this is before internet, before Google and all that kind of stuff. So the only thing I had going for me was I fractured a bone. It hurts. I can't poop. I can't bend over. I can't do anything. I can't have sex. and I was 20 maybe. And so I really focused on the pelvis. Like, how do I fix this? How do I get to the bottom of this? And that led me to yoga. I saw like a sign at the only natural food grocery store in the 90s up there. And there's a famous naturopathic college, their best year. And there was a yoga class there, a free yoga class. And I took one class, and it was like a world of bodies, and there were pregnant women who could put their, foot behind their head, which is not recommended, but
few.
Nobody should do that, in my opinion. And so, anyways, I just followed my body. Suddenly I was like in this new world of my body and scar tissue. And one thing led to another. I moved back to LA and I studied shiatsu because I was also interested in my own ancestral healing practices, which shiatsu is, and meridian work. And I fell in love with yoga and was studying with Anna Forrest, who became my mentor. And between the two, it was very trauma-informed work. Before that was like a thing. And I started a practice, and a lot of my clients, probably before I was really equipped to handle, a lot of my clients were coming in with a lot of complex traumas, both physical and, well, there's no separation, obviously, between the mind and the body. But I did feel like there's this co-creation of learning, sharing, holding space, and then I eventually became a cranial sacral therapist, which was like, this is it. I just want to hold bones forever. And so I entered this field of the subtle body, which I was already working with the meridians and chi. And so this is like a ladder, right? It's like, okay, I'm interested in this, this is working, all along really working on myself and finding different ways to regulate my nervous system. And like Carmen had said, how to care for myself more and more and more as I was really being blessed with clients with a lot of different layers of needs, and I was taught, just like you have, that having a community, referring people was so important. And so I had psychologists. It was like, please take care of your psyche, your mind, because it will help with the body. So I'm an educator. Yes, I put hands on people's bodies and I help people move, but I'm more interested in empowering people how to ask their own questions and to teach a kind of self-sovereignty for their own life, and especially for their own bodies, especially women. And the only thing really missing in that time was dance. For me personally, I love music and I love dancing, but I was not trained to dance as a young person. I had 2 left feet. I got like kicked out of ballet school when I was 5 for being just terrible, really, and unfocused. I have ADHD, so something would distract me. I would start like, you know, pulling at people's clothes. And anyways, so in my mind, I had a story that I'm not a dancer. I can't dance, like not properly. I could like go to a club and just like, right? And so I found my way to erotic dance and pole dancing. And that work somehow just clicked everything in for me. There was something really rebellious, really feminist. It was a group, I mean, from the top to the bottom, everybody that worked at these spaces were women. It was for women. It was very much like a Fight Club situation. Like, we dance, but we don't talk about it. We dance, but we don't dance for men. We dance, but we don't show it off in the world. You know, it was this really kind of like, anyways, I'm not saying that's a great model, but it was, for me at the time, it ticked all the boxes, because here I was working with people as a body work and a yoga teacher, and I wasn't being filled enough. Even though I was doing yoga, I was receiving body work, I was receiving acupuncture, I was, you know, had cranial sacral work. There was a creativity, an energy, a life force, my vitality around creativity that was not being met. And I'm married to a musician, and there was a lot of like living vicariously through him, that suddenly I was awakened to like, that's not enough for me. Like, I am as creative as you are. And so when that woke up in me, I found myself really dancing, choreographing, performing. I ended up becoming a choreographer through this work, and one of my first jobs led to an Oscar nomination for an actress I choreographed for, and so now I'm a choreographer and an intimacy coordinator as well, because you need 100 jobs to be able to survive in LA. So here I am. I'm 50. I just turned 52 a few days ago.
Happy birthday! Miriam and I did a closing of the bones for Rie. It's what you do with the Robosos, not just for postpartum, but when there's any transition. So we, on her birthday, got to give her a closing.
Oh my gosh, I highly recommend it if you have never received that work.
But I found myself drawn to this, going to Rie's class. It's very intimate class with a pole, but there's all this work we do on the balls beforehand, all this like massage work. But the pole was really interesting because I find myself in labor with women with, you know, hanging with the Roboso, doing a lot of like pull and push. And so this space of this class is like my own little space of like, what is my body doing, and all the tension I'm bringing to it, and these like getting to roll around on these balls. And then when it gets to the pole, like I never really had a relationship like this with metal, that you could like see yourself, you know, like it's this little like pole, and just really,
I call it a mirror.
Yeah, it's like a mirror. And then the way we're approaching the whole movement is all from inside and how it feels. There's no mirror. So it's really, it just feels, I think it's why for me it feels like somatic therapy, because I'm releasing all the accumulation of births and other people's stuff that I'm carrying. I'm getting to move my body like labor. It's so much of it. I was like, Rie, you were a doula. Like everything you're saying is what I'm saying to women in labor, like the waves and the spirals and the, you know, and so, and yet through the class, I'm like feeling pleasure in my own body. I'm like moving, I feel, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, like these are her vehicles while we're here for however long. So it's, so I just wanted to share a lot of this, and it feels like a lot of us are in that world in some way, and I feel like we all need to doula each other. And it does feel like it's all seeded with whatever our own you know, what our own trauma was. And a lot of that goes back to probably the embryology and the births. And so today, you know, being that wanting to honor Dr. Michelle Audin and wanting to have each of us feel like, have us all meet and share and feel like we get to have some care was felt really good in the space of womb. That if we can have more in person, the reason I wanted to do a comfort measures class with couples is also because there's so many virtual classes now. People are doing their childbirth education, looking at a screen, and you know, there's some things that can work really well for that. I think for some of our self-care, if we can do a Zoom and, you know, it's like we have gotten something maybe out of that, but things like giving birth, you're not gonna give birth on a screen. And yet I remember in COVID going in on the iPad in the hospital, sitting, you know, like my face was on the iPad, you know, and I was like, this can't work. This is, you know, and I would drive them to the hospital and they'd get out and then I'd go on the iPad. But through like hypnobirthing, through some of those things, it was like, oh, there was something, and having the partners become more of the hands-on, you know, there was something useful out of that. But now I feel like we need to be like the animals in nature. We need to smell, you know, if you we need to touch, we need to do all of that. And so just to at least have the comfort measures where the partners can practice, you know, and they're so grateful because they get that. But so to feel those waves. So why don't we just go around briefly? I'd love also some of the doulas in our village to share what they do. We have incredible nourishment and some food from both Grace and Francesca, some little snacks too. And then we're going to wrap up by 5 because we have the full moon ceremony, which a lot of you are welcome, any of you are welcome to stay, with the raw cacao, and so we're going to also do some more meditation, dance, and honor this full moon lunar eclipse. And that's probably why a lot of the doulas are actually not here because they're at births. Right. They actually, don't they staff more in the hospital?
Full moon?
Jude does a good job.
Definitely.
They staff more, so.
But Carmen, it's just so interesting what you're saying, because there is old school trauma or like childhood trauma, but one of the ways we define trauma is unmet needs or wants that live in our body. And that is something that most of us walk around so traumatized because we're so good at giving and not replenishing.
Yes.
Right? So
That's what I see with a lot of the older doctors. I feel like there are now, you know, we're really kind of understanding that connection, and I didn't get to hear what your I feel like you're living your care, like you're really but what is that go-to thing for you?
It changes, but currently in this moment, it's flowers. I just planted a bunch of flowers and just spending time, because nature is always my medicine as well, but I try and think about just the journey of my life and my client's life and all of our lives, like as a garden, you know, and I just needed to sort of like touch the beauty, and there's community gardens everywhere where you can plant things, and I don't know, there's something about flowers that really are opening my heart more than anything.
And in hypnobirthing, we say the flower opening. Oh, I did bring the Rose of Jericho too. It's another symbol that Deborah actually turned me on to. We're gonna bring that out in the moon ceremony.
Okay.
You don't know, but you don't. Oh, I'm excited to show you this. You're gonna.
Okay.